Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Cookiecast. Today on Cookiecast, it's James Plays, and on this episode, James has got a special guest in the form of Sam Muscroft. So we're reviewing some games, talking about the games world in general, talking about how things are for games and how the market is at the moment. I think there's probably a couple of conspiracy theories in there from yours truly. So yeah, this is another episode of James Plays, so check this out.
If we talk about ludicrous DLC, I'm sure there's
there'll be a moment for it.
Yeah.
So I saw something today about ridiculous DLC. Something was like, oh, you can get this game and it's really cheap, but the DLC for it's £90.
Dead or Alive 6, is it?
It was. That was it.
Oh,
Dead or Alive 6, they lied to us.
Isn't that like what Mortal Kombat did?
Because Dead or Alive 6, all the marketing... All the marketing was like, oh, we're going to scale it back. You know, we're going to take out the titty jiggles. We're going to give, they're going to give the girls, some actual costumes as opposed to thin rags that they drape over them. And it was like, okay, that means you're competing with proper fighting games, though. So you better,
bring your A game.
Bring your A game. And then it was like, psych.
And the reviews were so you took all the good stuff out, and then you made a subpar fighting game.
And then they sold it back for £90. So
it's okay, you can pay £90 for the
You can
DLC.
bring all the titties back if you buy the DLC.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what Mortal Kombat did, didn't they? Mortal Kombat 10, they released like 4 characters, and if you wanted all the characters you liked, it was an extra.
That's absolutely standard practice now. Fucking disgusting.
I will still never forgive PGA Tour. You can have the game for £40, but if you want the whole game, it's going to cost you £100.
Standard.
I'm sorry, what?
Should we start the podcast before we go down this route?
Let's.
Do we need to push a button? Those buttons.
The buttons have been...
Oh, right. Oh, God. Are we recording?
We're sort of
I
recording,
and forgot.
Oh, I didn't realise we were recording.
Because my point was, when you're talking about games, it's like, it's all wasted content, isn't it? It's just flushing it down the toilet, get it in. I've been doing all sorts of new shit with editing and stuff. So it's podcast time.
Yay!
That's for a while. It's James Plays with your host JK, and some of you might recognise the man to James is right.
Hello, everyone.
It's the lesser spotted Sam Muscroft.
I haven't been on very many.
I haven't done a podcast in it's at least 80 years. Yeah, the 100th episode came and went, but you managed to get in there before the 1 year anniversary, which I found out the day for that one. So I've got something to discuss. We're going to do things a little bit.
Yeah.
I was just about to ruin God of War for you there. We're gonna do this. You guys know what I'm talking about because you've played God of War. So we're going to preview.
Well,
games.
yeah, we've just got a couple of little things to say, haven't we?
Then I'm going to review the game I've been playing. You haven't got much to say, have you?
No, not really, because, there was an Ubisoft sale on, so I got,
some Ubisoft games.
Yeah, I got a back catalogue of a couple of Assassin's Creed games that I haven't played, including Odyssey. Cause
You've played them.
Trust me, actually, interestingly, Odyssey's quite different.
Shots fired.
Odyssey's quite different. There's a new combat system and more buttons to use. That's kind of it. But that was okay. Anyway, it was cheap, so I got that. But there was an announcement for Darkest Dungeon 2. Yes.
When we were talking about it earlier, I was like, really, at that point, we should be like, and here's the trailer, because the trailer is like a teaser trailer,
yeah,
so we should show that.
We should be able to put that in.
I might find a way to do that.
Yeah, because that'd be really cool, because it's like a minute and a half. And it doesn't really show you much, but
show you
it's enough for you to go, ooh, that's exciting.
Do we know when it's got release dates, or is
Not yet.
It's an indie game, so it'll probably just release when it's ready.
Yeah, it's...
July 2024.
Unlikely, but the...
the announcement of the trailer, which I think was beginning of last week.
Darkest Dungeon's one of those games, though. It'll just be consistently selling over, bits and pieces here and there. Games got much longer tails than they used to. Yeah, like a game from 5 years ago, like as if it's because of all digital distribution, it still sells.
Well, the last Darkest Dungeon DLC was only October last year.
Yeah, it was,
and then it was put onto.
But I've only recently bought it,
and it was put onto the Nintendo Switch in November last year. So it's still quite new for a lot of players.
Well, Switch seems to be the go-to for indie publishers these days because it seems to make a lot of money off it. Because the problem with Steam is that it just gets buried on there. Because Steam is such a nightmare engine of trash.
Yeah.
Anything good just gets buried. And I think a lot of people who buy PS4s and Xbox Ones, maybe they just don't like indies as much. Or maybe the handheld nature makes it better for indies. I don't know.
I don't know, actually.
You seem to be selling very well on the Switch.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. Maybe because... I don't know, maybe they're more handheld games.
I've recently played the Switch, which sounds weird, but I've recently had reason to play it. Like you recommended a demo, and I was like, ooh, that's something I can do.
Was that Demon Ex Machina?
Yeah, and I downloaded Warframe, which I still haven't got around to playing yet.
Oh, yeah.
But I ended up playing Lego Superheroes the other day. But because I've played it more now, I said to you, and I was like, the first thing I would, if I'm actually going to keep playing it, the first thing that needs doing is to get
buy a proper controller.
Yeah, get a proper controller for it. It feels the way the Switch controller is, even though it's like a square and you hold it like this, and it's like it feels like you're holding it like this.
The sticks are they feel more like the 3DS sticks. They're obviously designed for handheld, which is fine. You sort of accept when you're playing a handheld there are going to be some compromises in comfort. That's just how it is. But when I'm playing on a telly, it's like, yeah, I want a proper controller. Yeah. Have you seen how much you want for a Switch Pro controller?
I imagine.
Like £70. It's outrageous.
I will not be doing that.
This is stupidly.
Nintendo, man.
I love Nintendo, but they don't have
you
don't have to gouge.
About Nintendo tax before we left work earlier, and I was like, yes, Nintendo tax. I mean, at some point we will talk about Resident Evil
2.
No,
Resident Evil. Well, it's not that big a story, really. It's just part of the. We might as well just talk about. But yeah, the Resident Evil 4, 0, and 1. The redos they did for the GameCube back in the day.
Yeah.
They've been put onto the Switch, and they're charging £30 each for them.
Wow.
But like £15 each on the.
On the actual consoles they were on.
I think I got my copies on Steam free and Frosties. They were. Yeah. I'm sure they're on a Humble Bundle or something.
Yeah. Shit.
But that's Nintendo.
I would happily play Resident Evil 4 now.
I think, why wouldn't you? I would say it's aged incredibly well.
But not for £30. So it's simple.
There's so many ways you can play Resi 4.
It's that simple. I would be like, no, I'm not giving you £30 for that game. I probably gave you £60 X number of years ago.
Well, this was the argument I was having about Resident Evil 2.
That's an actual remake, though.
Still Resident Evil 2, though.
I still can't.
I disagree with that. So the thing is, Resident Evil 4 is Resident Evil 4. You know what I mean? It's an upscale with some slightly better textures. Whereas Resi 2 is a complete ground-up remake.
I did see a video this morning of somebody's modded the latest Resident Evil, whatever it is, and they've taken Mr. X out and replaced him with Thomas Tank.
I saw that as well. It's on Eurogamer.
It's fucking brilliant because they've done it a bit like the video's a bit like Benny Hill. Because she goes to a door, turns, look down a corridor, and all you see is Thomas the Tank Engine go down between two doors. And I was like, that's fucking brilliant. Hands down, the best bit of Ant-Man is when Thomas the Tank Engine, full size, comes through the house out into the street, and then is just lodged in the ground with the eyes going like that. It's like, that's brilliant. That's fucking brilliant.
That's the real reason why it's best to play on the PC, because you can have Thomas the Tank Engine in Resident Evil 2.
Well, they put it in Skyrim, didn't they? It's like Thomas the Tank Engine.
Well, that was where they had I know it was there was one with Rain Thomas the Tank Engines, and it brought graphics cards to its knees. But then,
so
that was the Darkest Dungeon announcement.
Darkest Dungeon.
Then I just wanted to touch on the Fear the Walking Dead. Or The Walking Dead. There's now been an announcement.
Because
there's not been an announcement.
Didn't we have the conversation on a podcast?
Yeah.
It's a video game.
Yeah. So the last podcast, it's gone. We knew that it had gone on to PC in November and it was due to come to console, but they had some issues they were working on. It had been delayed. Then somebody had said on the net that it had been cancelled. So the developers of Resident Evil
Walking Dead
then tweeted, "This game has not been cancelled." I then got an email from Game this week saying the game has been cancelled. So we'll give you a refund on any pre-order that you've given. So it looks like it has been cancelled for the console.
Maybe due to the poor sales on the PC, I don't know.
Obviously, I don't think this has got any of your details on, unless people need to know which mobile network you're with. But this is the Dear James email saying, LOLs!
So it looks like that's not coming to console now, so if anyone was going to get
Definitely hasn't been cancelled. Oh, wait.
Actually, it has
been cancelled, yes.
Turns out it has.
It's usually the other way around. Usually we have to wait on the PC like another bloody year for games.
Apparently it had all sorts of issues, and it's just not... But it doesn't seem to be like graphical or glitches or anything. It's actual gameplay issues that it just doesn't do anything.
It had truly horrific reviews on the PC. I think those were the issues.
Yeah, I think they spent all their money
on it.
I think they spent all their money on the trailers. Because the trailers are awesome, and the website. Which
the trailers were really good.
They were like episodes of Walking Dead.
You know when you look at a trailer and it's like, that's amazing and it's really well done, and then you hear about the game being truly awful, and you're like, could you not have just?
I'll be honest, I've never heard of it. Presumably this isn't
made by the people who made Left 4 Dead, and Left 4 Dead 2, and the review for it is play Left 4 Dead 2.
Go and get Left 4 Dead 2.
Right, so it's not like it's not like the Telltale games then.
No. This is it's an FPS, and the idea was that, like in Left 4 Dead, you basically just did the same missions over and over.
Yeah, I know Left 4 Dead.
So what they've done with this is they've kind of taken that model, but they wanted to develop the characters more and give it more of a like story type feel to it. So there was more to do than just complete a mission and then rinse and repeat. There was actually like more to it, and each of the characters had their own story.
That's a tough sell on a multiplayer game.
I wish we still had that copy of that magazine, because it was the front cover of that magazine. You turned up here like. Look at this. And that video I sent you, and it was the front cover of an Xbox magazine.
Yeah, it looked really cool. I was really excited.
I'm just shocked there's such thing as an Xbox magazine anymore.
Yeah, there's still
some people like physical media still.
Yeah. So
dinosaurs.
That was that. That was the only they were the only two announcements of note. Oh, and the Rage 2 thing.
Rage 2 is probably looking pretty decent.
It is. There was some ranting about it being monetized, as in you could pay for cheats.
I don't know what that's called.
But it turns out that it's not strictly true. If you buy a deluxe edition, you get like a pack of cheats, but they're for like an in-game mini game, just so you can play around. Really, they don't seem to be part of the main game. And it's basically like having a special, like if you get a special edition, you get a special gun or a special. It's
Bethesda, isn't it? It'll be publishing that because
it's
made by id.
Yeah, it is.
So,
Bethesda.
And none of the other ones have had particularly appalling, apart from Fallout 76, of course. But beyond that, like the normal single player games are fairly.
It's so organic. It's painful.
Are fairly non-obnoxious. Like you get a season pass, but what doesn't these days? But you don't have to buy them.
Does anyone remember Rage?
Yes.
Yeah.
Does anybody remember the reviews that Rage got?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it was fairly solid.
It had terrible reviews.
I remember
it was well received. Yeah,
I was going to say it wasn't completely torn to pieces.
People hated that game.
I thought it was fairly solid.
I enjoyed it. I loved it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed
it. To me, the fact that you could drive around in third person, and then the moment you jumped off like your quad bike or something, it was first person.
Like Borderlands.
And, well, one of the things that we'd seen in it was Rage 2 is not Borderlands 3. And if that's the case, then what is it?
I always thought it was weird that we never got a Borderlands 3, because Borderlands 2 did very well. What's Gearbox?
I'm pretty sure it's in the works.
Wasn't there like but didn't they do like a prequel game?
They did prequels. They did one that was like a Telltale.
There was a Telltale.
I think it was a Telltale.
There is a Telltale.
Tales of the Borderlands is actually pretty decent.
Yeah,
there is a Telltale. Borderlands VR. So Borderlands 2 as a VR.
So I know Gearbox released Battleborn, which was basically released as a competitor to Overwatch, and just got completely steamrolled.
Oh yeah, that didn't do well.
Completely steamrolled.
Yeah. Yeah, so Rage originally had bad reviews, but I feel that it slips into something that I would like to...
I thought it was fairly enjoyable.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
and that was the thing. I think this is...
I don't think it's amazing, but...
It's something that I want to touch on because I watched a video last night that sparks very interesting conversation, I feel. But... Sam, what are you playing at the moment?
As usual, I'm not playing anything current, am I? So... I'm playing a game called Ever Oasis on the 3DS. You're like, what the fuck's Ever Oasis? That's the correct thing. It plays like a mixture of Animal Crossing and Zelda. I think it sold about 12 copies.
8 copies.
Yeah. To people like me who still want to play normal video games. You know how much it asked me to pay afterwards? Nothing.
And then how do
it was like, you know, how it was just a video game.
And what do you do if you need extra skins and special guns and
in the game?
How do you do the flop stamps? Whatever the fuck that is.
It's in the game, like all the costumes in the game.
Really?
Yeah.
No,
Ending in the game.
But you paid extra for it, obviously.
There
You
must
had
have
to get
been-
a season pass.
There must have been a DLC.
What,
that
the
You had to pay to get the game early.
I heard it described as like a Lost N64 game.
Was it a deluxe edition?
I don't even know. I think it sold about 12 copies.
Did it come in a metal case?
It did not.
Did it have a free furry figure with it?
I wish, but no.
I don't think
Just
we can.
doesn't sound like a game I've ever heard of.
I have been playing other games as well, but again, I won't put. You will be able to play this one. I've been playing Devil Engine on the PC. It's also available on the Switch. Plays like a new version of Thunder Force to the point where it's basically Thunder Force 6. It's a 2D shmup. It's hard as balls and it's really, really good.
Nice.
What else have I been playing? I think I mentioned it on the last podcast hour, Zero Ranger, which is another 2D shmup. This is a problem with you. I don't play the same games as you guys. I'm far too hipster, you understand?
Bit of variety's nice.
You are
far too
I've
hipster.
been trying to coin some hipster phrases. So
What have you got so far?
recently, a friend of mine was like, "Oh, it was his birthday yesterday," and he told me that he was going for the most hipster day out in history. Told me what that was. It was like he was going to Leeds and going to all these places and like this place that served like this. You know, it was just hipster, and I was like, I think I just had a hipster-based stroke, so I called that a hip-oak.
So you need to say things like, I think I've got soy milk in my beard. Isn't that like...
I completely embrace my
And you should.
I'll
hipster
need to
nature.
phone Ben.
I don't
Ben's a
mind.
hipster.
If I can drink fancy beer and play video games that don't suck, I'm fine, honestly. Call me a hipster.
I need a bigger beard.
Go for it. The question you need to answer is how subjective it is.
I like their clothes though.
I mean, they are the style. The fear is that any day now the hipsters are going to get all the money, and then God knows what will happen.
They don't, because hipsters don't actually have any useful skills.
I think
So-
Ben would argue that's not true.
So, yeah. But you see, it's coming. It's trickling. There's a trickle down effect.
Ben,
So,
Ben, I've always called Ben a hipster.
big shout out to Harriet and Mike. It's a thing. They recently moved into their new house, but the house that they were living in before that, we went round and it's like, this is the single most hipster house I've ever. It was like a hipster paradise, but it was a house. So when you go, this house has come too soon because the hipsters haven't got the money yet. But once they get the money, that house will just go like that.
Did it have an avocado green bathroom? Which is so awful, it's got to be hipster in again.
Slanted roofs,
Don't they spend all their money on
with
sponsoring refugees and stuff?
wooden beams, like as if it was a barn, slanted roof. Wooden
Wow.
beams.
That's quite cool.
Sky.
that sounds cool.
See, look at him. He's already like.
Sounds good.
One day, I'm going to make enough money, I can have my very own hipster.
Hipster playpen. Grab beer. No, it's a house with a skylight in the living room.
I love a bit of hipster beer, proper scratching about for hipster beer.
See, I used to...
It's like, is that a really strong stout?
You got a sour there.
don't do
Does
sours.
it make your face do
Oh man, I had on Saturday. I had a cucumber sour, and it was genuinely the most disgusting drink I've ever had in my whole life.
Isn't sour cucumber just because it's off?
It's a sour cucumber beer.
A sour cucumber.
You know when you look at the can and you're like, this looks repulsive. I have to have this.
I said to you earlier, what do you call something that's so terrible that you're excited about? Like you're excited about something bad.
Yeah, this is the worst thing you can be is merely bad or mediocre. If you're crushingly, wincingly awful, then that's got entertainment value, of course.
Yeah. So one of the cornerstones of our podcast is it's so terrible to have to review something that's good. We found
it's really hard to review.
Oh, this is good. I enjoyed it.
That's why we don't. We only review games we don't like. Which, incidentally, turns out every game we play, we seem to not like.
Well, today could be the day that we get a review of a game that we actually enjoy.
Oh, well, go on then. Tell us about Anthem.
I can't tell you about Anthem because you need to tell us about
Fallout 76.
Fucking hell, really.
Okay, right. So
look at his face.
Right.
But
everybody knows. Everybody knows. I tried the beta and was pissed off with it, and I cancelled my pre-order.
When you say everyone knows, I don't remember you mentioning
it was on the podcast.
I don't remember that.
Go back over the old podcast. It's definitely there. Anyway, I was excited about Fallout 76 because I was like, yay, cool, love Fallout 4. For whatever reasons, I liked it. Played 76, very disappointed. Was in the shop the other day, had a load of cards left, load of points left on my card. It was super cheap, so I was like, okay, I'll give it another go because I know they've done loads of updates to it. They've adjusted it a bit, and there's more coming out. I have to say, it's not hideous.
Is that the mark of a game now? Not hideous.
It's not terrible. It's not the worst thing I've ever experienced in my entire life.
It feels like Fallout 4, which I liked Fallout 4, so I don't have a problem with that. I quite like the building aspect of it. That's quite fun. It's still the same as it kind of was. The missions are not terrible. Okay, they're I think there was somebody saying something about there are no NPCs. But I think NPCs have been added, but you pick up those little data chip things and you put those in your little doohickey on your arm, and
doohickey.
Yeah, and it gives you the missions, and it's kind of the same as following an NPC. It's not terrible. It's definitely not worth the full price, but it's for a cheap. If it's cheap, then it's a laugh.
In fairness, it might be one of those games that becomes good years after release.
The bounty system, when I played it on the beta, was just atrocious because when I came onto the game, everyone just obliterated everybody and it was shite. Whereas now, what I noticed is when I've been looking on the map, you're limited to the amount of people you can have per map. So there was quite a lot of collaboration going on, a lot of people doing missions together. That's kind of cool. And if somebody did shoot someone else, they would just ping red on the map, and literally everyone just goes after them. Now there are a couple of people that specialise in being bosses. So there's a guy that has got so many caps that he basically sits in this kind of sewer system area, and if you kill him you're going to get tons of caps because he's got loads of caps, because when you kill the person, the bounty comes from their own stash. It's not paid by the game. So technically then they've got no caps left, and you can use caps obviously for quite a lot of things in 76. So I quite like the aspect of like this hard-ass player basically just sits in this tunnel and he's like, I'm going to be there, this is my location.
That's kind of like...
And it's kind of cool that, because then you get like a group
community-made content, I suppose, because Bethesda obviously didn't bother putting any in. So
no,
that doesn't sound like Bethesda at all.
It's just, I mean, it's a shame that's what's happened. Because all they've basically done is given you a terrain. That's what it seems like.
I mean, I'm going to say I've not played it, so I can't genuinely...
I've unlocked loads, because there was loads of people saying, oh, you have to buy this, you have to buy that. I've unlocked tons and tons of points to buy stuff with. So I haven't spent any money on extras. I'm not quite sure what I'd buy.
It's all skins and stuff, I think, isn't it? Like
I haven't spotted anything in there that I'd physically pay for, and so far everything I've bought, I've earned in-game. So I don't know, I suppose it's like everything I was saying to you earlier, it's a choice at the end of the day. I'm sure you could easily spend 90 quid unlocking everything, but if you play the game and you just build up your credit like you would, you can get the stuff you need rather than having everything. It's like if you choose a standard edition or a deluxe edition, you don't have to buy the deluxe edition. No. You either do or you don't you? I get that it was definitely not a good game at the beginning. It needed a lot of work to it, but they seem to have been putting the content in.
Releasing unfinished games is something that can genuinely go fuck itself.
I agree
that was my biggest issue.
That is the issue. But
just saying about you can buy things and you can not. In 2018, Fortnite became the biggest game ever. And in 2018, Fortnite grossed $2.6 billion.
And of course, but remember, Fortnite is free to play.
And it's a free game.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And I've said before, I don't mind a game that charges like microtransactions and all that bullshit in when it's free to play.
That's what we said about Apex.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that the game has to make money somehow, and making the game free to play removes a massive barrier to access, and basically it gets you to that sort of critical point where a game can be very populated very soon. Essentially, people who don't pay in that game act as content for players that do in some ways. So
I stand by
Warframe's another one that's great. It makes you pay for stuff and it doesn't even pretend, but it's free.
Yeah, and I stand by the fact that I would not pay full price for Fallout. But if you can get a cheap copy and you enjoy the Fallout games and you liked Fallout 4, then give it a go, because it's not hideous. From it's not as awful as it's made out to be. And if you like Fallout, then it's essentially
there are so many great games that I don't need to play something that could be described as not hideous.
No,
I haven't got time to play the games I've got. I had a conversation with somebody about Metro, and it was like, shit, I completely forgot that I'm.
I would still like to give Metro another try. I don't think I like it as much as the previous games from what I've heard. It sounds like they've opened it up and it's just, I don't know, it's lost a lot of focus.
I'm still puzzled by the fact that it's called Metro.
Because,
Metro is the underground, and they've got.
But it does call, but they do call it Exodus.
Exodus, yeah.
Which kind of, is the clues in the title.
But
I just like a game that I can complete in maybe 8 to 10 hours. As again, it comes down to as a kid, I'd loved a 100-hour RPG, and I had all the time in the world and no fucking money. But as an adult, I don't want to be spending 50 hours on a game unless it genuinely deserves it. It's just too much time. So, and like all these big games, like Anthem is 50 hours, and this is 50 hours. It's like, when are you supposed to play all these games?
No, I can see you.
So it'd be nice just to have an experience that's one and done in 10 hours. That's why I love stuff like Doom. It's like just a good, honest, fun single-player game.
But how much do you want to pay for a 10-hour game?
They're also fair. Maybe I don't think you're going to get the full whack out of them. But the question is, do they cost as much to develop?
That's the thing. Because surely if you're developing more content, like a longer game with a longer campaign and a longer story, you're going to have more voice actors, you're going to have more that builds it. So, where's the price issue?
You've got like Resident Evil 2 though, that's like, I bet that's no longer than for sort of 7 or 8 hours, and that's done very well. So there obviously is a market for these type of games.
I think so. I think somewhere along the line, gamers are kind of waking up to the fact that they're being charged for everything. The problem is there aren't enough gamers turning around and going, I'm not going to pay for that. So
I think we're about to see a generation.
I've largely tapped out of the AAA market.
I said that ages ago when DLCs first became a thing on the Xbox. The first time I bought a game and it offered a DLC, I was like, what? Why do I need this?
Money for old rope.
So but then I was like, oh well, I kind of really like that game and I like the extra. And at the beginning, some of those DLCs were quite well thought out because it was new.
Because they were asking you for money.
Exactly, and it was new, and I was like, okay. But I always had the issue that by the time I've paid for my internet and I've got my game and I've bought my DLC, I'm looking at 100 quid a game.
Do you remember
I'm like, shit, 100 quid a game, and at the time I was playing them and completing them really quickly. So I was like, have I had my money's worth out of this yet? Probably not.
The way I always say it to people is, did it cost you more to buy than it did to earn?
Yeah, that's what you were saying about.
So if you've completed it and it's cost you 50 quid, but you had to work longer to buy that game.
I just think that's a terrible way to judge entertainment.
But I'm going to come on to that because there
are plenty of games where I play them for, we might get 80 hours out of them, and I might bored for 40 of them. I don't want to play it then. And if it's a short game, like because I would say Vanquish is one of my favourite games ever made. It's 6 hours long, and I'm pretty certain I bought it on release for full price. I've replayed Vanquish probably 10 times.
Well, I've done over the prime example
over the years, because I just think I'm bored. give Vanquish another run through. It's only 6 hours long, and then I can play it in a weekend. I can play it over a couple of evenings, and I just, I'd rather play Vanquish 10 times than I would play a boring game for 60 hours.
Fully agree.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, nobody wants a boring game, but that goes back to always what you've been saying. Is it fun? So, I mean, I don't mind the long campaign games if they're fun, if the story's interesting. Like, I know, like Witcher, I quite like because of that. I like the story. I like all the little things you can do. There's a lot of bullshit in it, but as a rule, I don't mind putting the time in to play it because I enjoy playing the game.
That bullshit doesn't need to be there.
Agreed, but it doesn't bother me. I don't mind that full RPG element for me personally, but I can understand how some people don't want to do that.
So I completed The Witcher 3, and I think it's in many ways an absolutely fantastic game. But I can't deny that I was annoyed at lots of elements.
Yeah, see, I'm finding that Assassin's Creed Black Flag, I'm still playing that, and it's a bit of a chore because I'm like, I need to go there. I've got to do this, and if I do the next mission, if I do the next mission, I have to upgrade. So to upgrade, I've got to do all this bullshit first, so I'll have enough money to be able to buy the things I need, so I can. I don't know. It's just I know that everyone loves Black Flag. It's like one of their favourite creeds. I'm just, for me personally, I'm still finding it a real chore.
I liked all the bits where
I'm 2 missions away from the end, and I'm just like...
Well, you're sailing around being a pirate, it's ace, and then it's like, do a tailing mission. It's like, don't make me do a tailing mission. Don't make me do Assassin's Creed's awful stealth system.
I had to do a tailing mission last night.
Let me go in a boat.
Because the tailing mission, right, I had to follow this Italian diplomat, and there was an optional objective to kill the guy from a haystack. But obviously all the haystacks were surrounded by soldiers that spotted you regardless of where you were. Yep. Fuck, was I getting pissed off with it, man. I was like, why would you add this as an optional thing if it's just bollocks? If it's basically making me like do the thing over and over again until you find that right haystack or that right way to approach it. Those things annoy me.
Yeah, Black Flag is, you know those things that stand out. Black Flag did have probably more stealth and tailing missions than any Assassin's Creed game, and they are the most infuriating.
I just sort of like just gritted my teeth through them so I could get back to going on my pirate boat
and just cruising.
I cruise around blowing up fortresses.
I like blowing up the fortress. I think that's.
So it's like, why didn't they make that game? Why didn't they make more of that game? Get rid of the Assassin's Creed shite.
If you can get the boat upgraded enough to take on the
bigger fortresses.
Why can no one make a good pirate game? Because you see, you would have thought they'd fertile ground for but how many good pirate? I would say Black Flag is a good pirate game. I would say there's an annoying Assassin's Creed game bolted onto the side, but it is a fun pirate game. But
that's what it feels like as well. Because even if you look at Black Flag as a game, it's like he's a pirate, and every now and then he lifts the hood up.
Well, to be honest, I've got to mission 12, memory sequence 12 of 13. And now he's an assassin. So he's been walking around with the hood and the gear for the whole time, but it's only now that he's just realised, the Assassin's Creed, I think I'm going to follow, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Why is it taking you 120 hours to get to that stage?
Well, from what I gather, Odyssey as well, the assassin bit is so tenuous now that...
there is no link.
Yeah, it's all just it's brand recognition.
But there is no hidden blade in that game. The one
I keep almost buying Odyssey just because I've had other people say that it's fun. I'm a little bit leery of it because it looks like it's about to waste my time.
I like the combat. The new combat thing.
I don't believe it's the game for you, Sam. The reason I say that is that I don't want to have to listen to you talking about how you hate it. That's why I'm like, Sam will hate this game.
It might have fun elements though.
As we know, it was my game of 2018. And one of the things...
Not much competition, but...
One of the things that I will say about it is 50 hours into that game, when I went and got a mission from someone, and yes, the mission was do the same thing you did last time, but at least it was a different something.
It wasn't... do I have to collect 20 bear asses at any point?
No, Sam. You have to go and collect a plant that will reinvigorate the quest giver's erection so that you can have sex with him. And yes, I was playing as the man.
I'm fine to have gay sex. I just don't want to collect a load of shrubbery or something.
Oh, that's the mission.
Fine.
Go and collect a load of flowers to get the
Fortunately,
fire back in.
I've played as the woman, so it might be a better cutscene.
Well, presumably the the females that give you quests will be this.
You can also have gay sex as a lady too.
True.
As I've heard from my friend who's played it.
Watch this space.
As Deadpool 2 said.
Symmetrical docking.
Check out Sam's YouTube channel.
Don't.
He will furnish you with symmetrical docking.
That makes it sound like I've got a terrible channel.
It's a great channel. It's great.
It's just full of giant robots.
It is just full of giant robots. Giant female robots with flashing boobies.
See,
True.
There was a tumbleweed that just rolled past. I know you guys wouldn't.
I didn't make it.
Which is not the appropriate answer.
It just rolled past. I saw it.
The thing is we can always just say why, and the answer is always Japan, and that's just like, oh, gotcha.
I finished listening to all my backlog of Hollywood Babylon today, and they do, as I've said to you before, one of their sections is "What the fuck, Japan." There is a theme tune. It's great.
So
I've gathered you both here today to reveal who the murderer is.
Of what, the games industry?
Sam.
Am I the murderer?
You are the murderer of the games industry. So
I'm not buying this shitty output every
I wanted to talk for everybody who tuned into the last. As you can see on the wall, there are no controllers hanging.
no, that's true.
Not on none of the walls are any controllers hanging. The controller is.
It's actually on the windowsill.
It's actually on the windowsill.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
The one in
it's
question.
on the windowsill.
And the reason for that is because I did, in fact, buy, and I have played Anthem.
I hear it's a game that was made and released by.
Oh, don't you worry, Sam. We're going to come to that. So, I'm gonna basically do
some people
this.
bought it, but not enough for EA.
I'm going to basically do this as I'm going to do the bad points first.
Okay.
So the bad points of Anthem are, I don't understand the XP system, and I've played it for quite a while. I don't get it. I've never.
You know, those numbers go up.
Numbers go up.
I was about like.
So if I shoot you, I should get XP, and I shoot you, I should get XP. It's like no. If I shoot both of you, I get XP. That's the principle.
What, both at the same time?
So if I shoot 10 bad guys, I'm going to get 50 XP.
Right.
If I punch 10 bad guys, I'm going to get 50 XP.
Right.
If I shoot a bad guy in a weak spot 10 times, I'm going to get XP.
Right.
But I'm not going to get XP for each individual kill.
Oh, so it's only group kills.
And there are various different things.
Isn't it like a chaining system?
There seems to be a system where if I do this, I get XP if I do that. And basically, at the end of the mission, it goes, you earn these medals. You got a medal for killing 10 guys. You got a medal for killing 10 guys with a headshot.
Kilimanjaro.
You got.
You am the winner.
And it just gives you all the medals, and the medals are worth so much, and it racks up, and then you get 1200 XP for doing a mission. I've never played a game like this that takes this long to level up.
Okay. Let's get you playing then, don't we?
It takes forever to level up. I really wanted my third javelin. Javelins are the same.
Would it be too cynical of me to suggest there's an XP booster in there somewhere that you can buy?
I haven't seen one. I really wanted my third javelin because I like to, the fact that you're able to get all four that are available.
I hear they're all good fun. The flying magic lightning guy seems like the most fun one to me.
It did seem like the most fun, but having got that 1 second, I played with it for a while and was like, yeah, but the first guy I had, he had that laser, and that laser's cool, and he had the big and I'm like, I'm going to change back to the first guy. So I ended up playing for ages as the guy I got.
I'd hear you don't have to level up all your suits separately as well, which is quite nice.
No.
You level up at once, right?
Yeah, you level as a character, but you don't have to
level up as a person. The suits are completely separate.
Right.
Which is
So
quite
I've
nice.
recently, in the last couple of
Reduce
days,
the grind a bit.
I got the Colossus, which is
Big fatty, you can't fly.
You can fly. It's Anthem's equivalent of the Hulkbuster, basically.
Sweet.
The tank.
Yeah, and I can say this. I even bought extra arms and legs, and by that I mean like you can buy like you get like your standard arms.
As in paid for with cash?
No, paid for with in-game cash.
Okay.
Because I had like 90,000.
I like the idea that you bought like extra arms and legs. He just uses them as weapons, just like a.
So I just got
to town with his massive great leg.
I got bigger arms and I got bigger legs, but I didn't buy the torso because I felt the torso made you look too much like Big Daddy. And I didn't want to look too much like Big Daddy. I don't
As
mean
in
the
the
wrestler.
wrestler?
I mean,
Right.
like
Big Daddy the wrestler. Jeez. For anyone that doesn't know, you're going to have to look
what's
it up.
that game called? With Big Daddy and Little Sisters.
Oh, Bioshock.
Yeah, from Bioshock.
I thought you meant the wrestler too.
Yeah, I feel because it does like it elongates the front and it just puts like a slit in it. I was like, it's
Not
too
just
Big
a
Daddy.
big
So I
fat
just
British man.
I just went with big arms and big legs. I don't think I like the XP system. I don't think I like the leveling up system. It's one of those things that it's like, can't you just give me XP for each kill, even if it's like 5? Because you go into a mission and sometimes it's like swarms of bad guys, and all I can think is like there's points where you can move on. There'll be like enemies to kill, but you can move on. It's like, and I'm like, oh well, I'm not going to move on because there's guys to kill. And then I'm like, well, actually, it doesn't make any difference. I'm not going to get any XP for killing
Is
them.
it not like the way
So I'm
you
just
kill
gonna
them,
fuck
or the
off.
weapon you use?
So yeah, and I've watched a lot of videos about this. They're basically you can look at the challenges for things, so you know what to do. You know, get this kill by doing like this,
Right.
hit this guy, do it anyway. Each of the javelins is successfully different enough that it's like, you know, the big guy's got a shield, so he doesn't have a shield like a blue bar. He has a shield. He has a big metal plate that you press a button and he opens the shield.
Yeah.
At one point last night, it was like, oh, stand here for a few minutes while this thing charges up. And all the enemies were coming straight on. It's like, shield? Didn't take a single bit of damage. And all these enemies are just shooting. And it was like...
Did you get XP for that, though?
No.
You would have thought the enemy's not clever enough to flank you.
So, I've heard a lot of complaints about the enemy AI. I personally don't agree with any of the complaints. I think the AI are pretty fucking smart. They'll run around.
They're not smart enough to not just shoot your big shield and go around the side, though, are they?
But the where I was stood was encased like this, so I stood like that. And it's like, well, they're not going to get behind me because there's nothing behind me to get behind. So they were just coming from...
It's weird that AI has like kind of not really moved on.
Hasn't. When I saw all these complaints, I was like, well, this is... To me, it feels like
Because when I think of like good examples of AI, I always think of like the original Halo, which had excellent AI for the time, or the original Fear. And like I look at games now, and it's like AI hasn't really moved on.
It hasn't really changed much. No, that's true. Well, if you look at Creed, is a good example from where it started to where it is now. It's not massively different.
It's exactly well. In fairness, they did change it up at Origins.
Wasn't
much
now
different.
now bad guys will look in the bush and go, "There's a body in there."
That's artificial.
I kind of
I consider that artificial stupidity, which is actually a necessity, I would say, for stealth games. Because the problem is with a stealth game is usually you don't actually have that great awareness of your surroundings. So enemies have to be artificially stupid for the game to work.
Yeah. No,
I'm stood behind this wall, and the guy walks up to the door, and then turns around and walks away, but turns to the way to face you and walks off.
It's like vision cones and stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can see massively more than that in your
see
peripheral
it,
vision.
Yeah. There are some.
As long as the game makes
it.
it clear that when you're hidden and when you can't be seen, I think that's fine.
Yeah. I think it has improved slightly. Like I say, if you hide a body in a bush now, the bad guys will probably find that body, and then that'll fuck up your chances quite royally, which is quite kind of cool because you can't just. Whereas in old Assassin's Creed, you could just run around and kill everyone, and it didn't matter if you left the bodies in the street. Now you kind of have to think about, if I kill that guy, I might have to move him, or I'm going to have to be quicker. I quite like that. But then I like those stealth games.
The new Tomb Raider was dreadful for just, the pile of Hitman style pile of corpses where you're like in one bush and like people just kept pushing them. Like, how many guys are in this bush?
So they're literally doing that out the top of the bush.
Just like hundreds of these guys. Don't go there, that's the guy bush.
Yeah, well, haystacks in Creed are good for that. You just keep pulling people into the haystack, then you get out like... there are 50 guys.
Don't go in that bush. There's like 30 dead guys.
Do not go in there, because I killed a lot of people and left their bodies, and they probably smell after a while.
Like being a stone cold murderer, but we still do have to feel sorry for her.
Oh, really, like the first game, really feel for me, because I had to kill a guy. I mean, now I've got loads of guns and I'm just going to shoot everybody. She really got over that.
And in Shadow of the Tomb Raider, it's like, oh no, I'm really, really rich and have to go on these archaeological expeditions to liberate priceless artifacts from their homelands.
From their brown owners.
From the brown owners, yeah. And it's like, why am I on your side? You're kind of an arsehole, Lara.
Yeah, Lara, you killed a lot.
You're done fucking. Exactly. It's like when you're killing for survival, like Far Cry 3, for example. Like, yeah, you know what? Fine, and he kind of crossed the moral event horizon in Far Cry 3, and that's kind of a cool way of doing it. In the Tomb Raider sequels, it's like you went here on purpose,
yeah,
and you knew it'd be full of mercenaries, and now you just killed them all.
An entire village because of greed, essentially.
You don't need. It's not even greed. She just thinks she doesn't need these things.
She's bored and rich.
It's like, what you're going to do is ask. You're not going to sell it. You're not going to make any money out of it. You're just taking it from their rightful owners because of reasons.
Because of reasons. That old famous chestnut.
And she's bored. It's the short version.
And which is why I've got to feel super sorry for her.
Yeah. So no surprises. I'm going to say the loading. There are things like in Anthem there are loading bits. Are we surprised that I'm going to say the loading takes a while? Yeah, the loading takes a while.
That seems to be a thing that's coming back. Loading times. Yeah. I mean, I understand that games are bigger, so there's more in them.
I'm going to talk about. In the plus column. There are things about those loading times. Fort Tarsis. You have to go back there between missions. Nobody's complained about that. Everybody's complaining about it. I
hear the painful thing is like you can't change your loadout on the fly, which is a pain.
You can't change loadout on the fly. You have to go to the forge to do it. And I was playing last night, got a super cool gun, but it didn't give me the option to go to the forge first. And then I went out on a mission, was like, I didn't equip that gun, and now I can't. So things like that. These to me are minor things. Something that isn't minor. Basically, the end game, everybody keeps talking about how the Anthem's better once you get to the end game. I played through the story and wasn't really... I was like, well, this guy's giving me a story mission, but this guy's giving me a story mission. I played all these missions, and then I got to this bit where I was like, right, I've got to go and do this mission for this guy. But I'd also done a mission for another guy. And I got there, and it went, right, okay, so it's time to finish the game now. And I was like, whoa...
I hear it's not that long, like maybe like 12 hours or something.
I got like other missions to do, and they're like, you don't know. Once you go and do this mission, the game is over. It's like, but I don't want to do that. I want to play the other missions.
That's what Metro does.
I've got the other missions I want to do. So, can I do those? Nope. Right, okay, I'll just finish the game then. So I finished the game, and now it's like, your end game is, you've got all this stuff to do, and this, that, and that. One of my more recent complaint is that I am now starting to see some of what people are talking about. At the end of the day, your missions are turn up at place, kill enemy, turn up at other place, kill enemies, turn up another place.
It's a looter shooter there.
Kill enemies, you are done. My biggest complaint about Anthem is everyone else. I honestly do not understand why Anthem is getting the reviews it's getting. I honestly, other than I truly believe that there is much more going on here. I think that EA are trying to kill that
makes no sense. They own that developer.
EA are trying to take BioWare out back and have them shot.
They could do that anyway. They don't need to. They own them.
They don't need to release a terrible game.
I think they need a reason to do it. The reviews that Anthem is getting does not go with the game. And I don't understand it, and I think there's much more going on than anybody will understand. Now, here is why I said to you, it's good that you're going to come today because you can defend yourself.
Okay.
Originally, you were like, I hear Anthem's getting really bad reviews. Still like to have a go on it though, but I hear it's getting bad reviews.
I wouldn't mind having a go on it.
Yesterday, you said Anthem's getting terrible reviews. Don't want to touch that with a barge ball because it's getting terrible reviews. The reviews have changed your opinion. on a game you haven't
I don't
played.
remember saying that. I would still mind giving it a... I think I said I don't want to pay £50 for it, which I think is a very different thing to say. I would happily play it if I could play it for, I don't know, play it for 5 hours or something, just give it a try. But it's like Fallout 76. I can't judge it. It's not fair for me to judge it because I've not played it. But going by all the things I've heard about it, I also don't want to spend the money to try it. And that's that. As a consumer, what else can you do but make an informed decision?
And that there is my issue. Because what you've been told about it isn't true. It's wrong.
But what else can I do other than as a consumer?
It's impossible to tell that, because if they don't release decent sized demos, or you've got no way of telling, you can.
As a consumer, I can only look at reviews and whether they're professional or whether they're user reviews, and the user reviews aren't kind either. So,
but again, this is something that I don't understand why. I don't know what people wanted, and I don't know what people expected, and I don't know why people are now going, I wanted this game, but I got this game, and now I'm not happy.
You know what? If it was £15, I might, just because it looks neat, give it a shot. As I did with Titanfall 2, and I found like an amazing game there. Destiny 2 is a game that I'm like, I don't want to pay a lot of money, but for £20, I might give it a shot for £20.
Probably worth paying for £20. Here's the thing. So,
price is everything.
I'm going to say it often comes back to it's like I said about Fallout. I bought it because it was cheap. So, or in this case,
there's loads of games I've had bought and played.
I had points, so I didn't really pay actual money for it.
I didn't pay anything.
But £50's a lot of money.
Yeah, £50 is a lot of money.
I didn't pay anything for Anthem. I
wouldn't have bought it at £50.
I had like 3 game cards. The first 2 made up like nearly the value of Anthem.
Yeah, I mean, that's still money you could have spent on something else then.
So,
but you had played the alpha and beta and liked it.
I played the alpha and the beta.
So it makes sense that you would use that money for that, because you'd already played the game.
So I was super excited, and I'm like, this is the game I want to play. I've played the alpha, I've played the beta, and all I want to do is play the game now. So,
good. I'm glad you got a game you liked.
I got Anthem. To boil it down, do I want to play a game that gives me the opportunity to get in a suit and fly around? So, you know, you're going to make the comparison, and I've already made this comparison, like Iron Man.
Mm.
Yeah, really, I want to do that. I want to get in a suit and I want to fly around and fire big guns and fire rockets and fire all this and the other. And I want one that does one thing with like rockets and guns, and one that does things with like lightning and fire and ice, and one that's just a big guy that's got like a minigun that fires a big rocket. And then I haven't used the other one, but I know that it's like hand specialist.
It's the stealthy roguey one, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'll get that eventually. Do I want to do that? Yeah, I do. Right, here's the thing,
don't give a shit what anyone else thinks.
And I said this to you. I do not understand why in all of these reviews nobody's mentioned the scenery. Nobody's mentioned the world that's been created.
Because scenery is just that.
The world that's been created. That game is beautiful.
Good.
Every game from now on should take pointers from what they've created in Anthem. Somebody said to me...
But that's just throwing money at it. So, yeah, I'm sure it's beautiful, but that doesn't make a gameplay better.
Somebody that said to me, Anthem is playing as Iron Man on Pandora. And I was like, that is nailed on. Because it looks like the world from Avatar. It's got this amazing scene. Like, some of the missions, I'd gone into a mission and it was like, you go to like dungeons, so you go in and you fly around in the outside, and then you go in and you go play.
Yeah, instances.
Some of these things, like flying through, like one of these missions I've done that really stands out as like, that's a great mission. Flying through the inside, the vast nature of this inside dungeon, it was huge.
The thing is, you don't have to justify yourself to anyone. If you're enjoying something, fine, good, and continue to enjoy it.
This is what I've said before, is that what I like in games, you definitely don't like in games. I like looking for all the chests and all the flags and the bear asses, and you hate that. Whereas when I played Far Cry 5, one of the things I didn't like was that there were no achievements to find all that crap. And so for me personally, I was like, well, I kind of like that stuff. Whereas you're like, I don't give a shit about that. I just want to play the game and I want it to last X amount of time. So,
I don't even necessarily mind a long game. It just has to be entertaining all the way through.
It is subjective to what kind of game you're into, and that's
fine.
That's fine if I think what the problem you're having is that all the reviews are super negative, and yet there must be people out there who've actually really enjoyed it.
And good for them. I hope they continue to enjoy it.
I watched a video yesterday that was saying that one of the biggest problems with Anthem is the reviews it's been getting don't match. There are loads of people that are going, "This is a great game."
But then it depends who reviewed it again.
Yeah, it is.
But maybe somebody
reviewers are more likely to go the other way. I would say, especially for a big game from EA, I'd be surprised if the reviews weren't being paid upwards rather than downwards. Why would anyone pay them downwards?
Yeah, it's weird though.
I honestly think that there's something bigger going on.
But it makes no sense at all, because if they want to get rid of BioWare, they paid a lot of money for, and have BioWare's continued to be fairly underwhelming for EA, but they can. It's their studio. They own them. They can do what they want with them. They don't need a reason. They killed off Visceral.
You don't know what BioWare's contract looks like. You don't know what happens.
It's not
in
like
rooms behind closed doors.
It's not like Bungie was with Activision. They were free agents. They had a contract with Activision, but they maintained all rights to Destiny, that IP, so they could do what they wanted. That was a very different. BioWare owned by EA. They can do what they want with them.
And what's to say that there isn't a clause in their contract that says you can't do X, Y, and Z unless a game we make gets poor reviews?
I don't know. I have no idea what game contracts look like, so I'm not even going to pretend that I do. But they are wholly owned.
If anyone does, give us a shout. Yeah.
They are wholly owned.
All I'm saying, and I feel like I'm like 20 again, just looking for conspiracy theories everywhere. But all I'm saying is, it feels very much to me like there is more going on here than we know, because the game itself doesn't warrant the reviews. And I said to you, I listened to exactly.
No, you get fucking copyright struck.
I said to you that I listened to Joe Blogs on YouTube reviewing Anthem, and then almost at the exact same moment, I went onto Facebook and you tagged a review on Facebook from and I keep purposely not mentioning the website because I don't know, and they might sue us. A legit website had reviewed Anthem. So I read the review on this legit website, and I looked at Joe Blogs on YouTube. He's got 9,000 views on his video. And all I could think was, why are these reviews identical?
That's a completely insane way of thinking about it. All these people seem to think very similar things about this video game. Yeah, I can believe that, because they're probably fairly consistent issues.
But my point was, the exact same thing came up in the exact same places in both reviews. You can't tell me that two completely separate people sat there and went, I'm going to review this in the exact same way.
I think that most people reviewed it and didn't like it, and Bush didn't cause 9/11, so...
There's been a thing in the last couple of days, there's been a thing that's come out that, playing Anthem breaks your PlayStation 4.
I've heard they get bricked, but I don't know why it is.
So now we're told that we're not supposed to play the game in case it breaks our PlayStations. Obviously now I'm going to put it on later and my PlayStation's going to break.
What's the reason for it?
Can you podcast this?
What's the reason for this? This sounds very stupid.
Exactly, what is the reason for this?
So let's have a look. It'd be very unprofessional looking at my phone on a podcast. Sorry.
Well, I'm just about to tell.
I do it all the time.
I'm just about to tell James to look at his phone.
There we go. I'm always looking at things as we chat.
So,
Anthem bricking consoles. That was the first one that popped up.
In my research, because I've done a lot of research in this, I've watched a billion videos of people going, Anthem's fucking awful, it's the worst game ever. I played Anthem for 10 hours and it broke my PC and I'm never playing it again. And it honestly, this is the biggest witch hunt I've ever seen of anything. It feels like there is a hell of a lot more going on here. Because I've played the game. Somebody said this game has been made for a certain type of gamer, and I'm obviously not that person. And I am prepared to say two things. One, maybe I am the person that BioWare made this game for. And two, recently I have gone, it is a little, you go here, you do this, you do that, you do the other. The missions are becoming a bit samey. But do I want to fly there in a suit and fly around, and to me, you add flying to any game, I'm already like, well, this is 30% better than it could have been. Jumping and flying and doing that and flying around, great. Big rocket, cool. You're already ticking a lot of boxes for me. So maybe BioWare made this game for me, and I'm like, cool, I enjoy it. I've been playing it for, how long has it been out? A week or something?
I will say, your conspiracy just makes no sense. It has no, there's no logical train of thought to it. To what end? I don't understand. It's like, well, I'll get bad reviews. Why?
Like I said, it feels very much like BioWare potentially had a clause in their contract that said you can't shit can us unless we make a game that gets a bad review.
Well, they made Mass Effect Andromeda, and that was genuinely shit.
That was terrible. That was really.
That was genuinely terrible. I played that one. Yeah. Because they put a free trial on Origin for 10 hours, and I made it. I got about 5 hours in. I was like, "That's enough of that forever."
That's quite notorious for being known as a terrible game.
Even when they'd sorted out all the bugs and the animation issues, it couldn't alter the fact that it was a shit game under its core.
Yeah.
I was watching a video last night.
And I got absolutely hammered.
I was watching a video last night that was talking about companies being paid. You asked a question about IGN.
Yeah.
About whether I was allowed to say that IGN were paid for reviews.
Yeah.
You can say I believe that
and I went back and said, in my opinion,
I will say I do not think IGN are paid for reviews. I actually don't think any money changes hands.
So this was the video I was watching. So there's no sack of cash. Nobody goes, here's this money.
But IGN rely on the game industry to provide them with review code, provide them with exclusives, provide them with interviews.
Yeah.
So basically it's journalists coding. They're basically glorified PR. So no money exchanges hands. But sometimes everyone gets to go on a review. Everyone gets to go on a helicopter ride or something to.
Oh, so like if somebody got to go on a trip and then they got to play a game and then they got like a shiny toy out of it,
or they got to go an all expenses paid night, rave or whatever. There's all sorts of this sort of stuff in. It's just PR. It's just a cozying up.
Then they're asked after that to review that game.
They never say we want this to be reviewed X. They will just. The problem is that they're too close. So IGN rely on the game industry for their existence, and you're not going to bite the hand that feeds, are you?
No, it's a very silly thing to do. Which brings me nicely to James. Would you like to Google EA game changers?
Okay.
I imagine there'll be
some sort of website.
There will be a website.
Okay, let's have a look.
Treat yourself.
Okay. Game Changers Community Partnership.
Would you like to read the
what it is?
Read the mission statement on the first page.
Is that the Game Changers is EA's community partnership?
That's the one.
Okay, so Game Changers is EA's community partnership program that fuses content creators and expert players directly into the game development process, enabling early collaborative feedback for improvements.
I'm going to need a bucket or something.
We also empower innovative storytelling by granting creators early access to gameplay capture.
Yeah.
What is their mission?
To put our community at the centre of everything we do by providing one-of-a-kind access and experiences. Ooh.
So there are a collection of EA game changers on the internet who talk about how they get to go to swanky nights out. The day before they're due to review a game that's been released by EA.
But I can't imagine that being treated by a corporation to a swanky night out would have any influence on someone's opinion.
No. Also, obviously, if you give them a bad review, guess what? You're no longer a game changer. They remove your status. So yeah, that's the thing. There's this big battle between this YouTuber and EA at the moment because he didn't put some sort of watermark on his game, and they went, "Oh, you're not using the official game," so he got struck from the Game Changer program. He also gave them a bad review for that game, which just so happened to be Anthem. So there's things like that. Now, as I said to you, because technically you constitute as a influencer.
Right. I'm down for that.
So you can sign up as a game changer.
That's what I'm going to do.
and you can get EA to take you on a nice, expensive trip out somewhere.
Can you imagine that blood money?
I'm down for free beers.
Free beers, free games, because you'll get a copy of the game. You'll get a nice. I saw a picture.
EA are responsible for the deaths of too many studios to. I could name 5 probably off the top of my head.
They're going to be the death of BioWare before long.
No, BioWare. I'll never quite forgive them for what they did to Visceral. So they made Dead Space, and Dead Space was awesome.
Dead Space was really
And then they made Dead Space 2, and that was awesome. And they made Dead Space 3, and EA stuck the willies in their ears and were like, make microtransactions, make this a thing. And Dead Space 3 didn't sell all that great, so then they killed them. It's like, thanks EA.
Yeah, that was... that's not cool. Because Dead Space 1
EA
and 2
owned
were
a company.
very cool. Very
They released a game, and that game didn't get very good reviews, and then they killed it.
But Dead Space 3's problems, and it had a lot of problems, were entirely down to corporate interference. Like, they made a good game in Dead Space 3 in spite of the corporate interference. And then EA shit-canned them.
So it's probably not too far to jump to... BioWare might have made a good game in Anthem, but EA don't want them to have made a good game.
I think it's made a game that you like. I actually think there's no conspiracy, but BioWare will be getting shit canned.
Yeah.
When was BioWare's last good game?
Who is it that stands to make something out of this?
No one. They own BioWare. That's the point of this.
Right, but BioWare is its own company that EA
It's
owns.
not. It's a wholly owned subsidiary.
Then why is it BioWare? Why is it not EA?
Because EA are the publisher. The developer is BioWare.
A bit like what we were just talking about, ID Software and Bethesda.
Yeah, it are owned by...
Bethesda are the publisher, but ID are the guys that are developing whatever it was we were just talking about. Rage.
Somebody stands to make money out of this. Is all I know.
EA were probably hoping to make a lot of money out of Anthem, I'll be honest with you, but it's...
And last week Anthem was the #1 selling game.
Yeah, I can believe that.
Nobody's talking about that. Nobody's mentioned that. All you hear is about how it's going to break
It had a massive marketing push, though.
My TV wants me to watch an advert for Anthem. Every time I turn it on, there's a thing in the bottom corner, Anthem.
But there are a lot. They did do a big marketing push in it because there are like Anthem Javelin characters. Like,
I'd be shocked if Anthem wasn't the best-selling game. It's... I mean, what else came out in the same week?
That week, nothing.
So
it was the week before.
The week before, everything
came out.
Sure, but you'd expect Anthem to be the best seller in a week with absolutely nothing else in it.
There was nothing of note, I don't think.
No, Anthem was the only thing that came out.
So you'd expect that to be true, and I know that it hasn't done the business.
Division?
No,
Division hasn't come out yet.
Not quite yet.
No, it's still beta.
Another looter shooter.
Yeah, it's still beta. No, beta. Last week or this weekend? No, last weekend.
But I mean, I know it's not done the business that EA would have wanted it to, and there's no way they can look at those scores and be happy with that. It's actually scored worse than Mass Effect Andromeda, which I refuse to believe.
Yeah.
Because Mass Effect Andromeda was genuinely horrible, like really unbelievably shit. So, and that scored like 68 or something. It's like, that's been really fucking generous.
Yeah.
And from what I've seen of Anthem, like, even if it looks like it functions.
It does.
Yeah,
which is more than Mass Effect.
Mass Effect didn't even function.
It looks like it works. I mean, the writing can't be any worse than Mass Effect Andromeda.
Yeah, I mean,
Such
you
a
know,
terrible end to a franchise.
I find that games that are set
really good
in certain
before
worlds. It does one of the reviews that talks about how you have to read everything. It doesn't tell you all the backstory of the lore of the world and stuff like that. And, you know, most people don't want to have to sit and read a computer game, so...
You had to do that in Mass Effect, in fairness. There's loads of codex entries.
Yeah.
There's codex in there.
I believe, didn't Destiny have codex and stuff like that in it? Like that kind of stuff? I don't really care because I can read.
Yeah. People don't want that these days. I don't want that reading bullshit.
For those of you who can't read, go and learn to read.
I don't find it that difficult. It's video game reading as well. It's not like reading a book, is it?
Mario Brothers.
So, the only thing, after our Anthem debate, the only thing that's left is what comes out this week.
Anything? What does come out? The 8th.
8th.
Oh, Devil May Cry.
Oh,
yeah, boy.
I thought we actually got a bit of consensus.
Yeah.
Well, does it look fucking awesome?
It does look awesome.
It does look good. Yeah.
And you know me, I love a fucking spectacle fighter.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed every Devil May Cry game, even the second one.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm pretty psyched for it, to be honest.
Yeah, that's out Friday.
I'm hoping it'll be bigger and more stupider than ever.
It already looks.
I think it looks like it is. Yeah.
I saw they released their final trailer was released yesterday.
See, you should slip that into the podcast. Then.
I thought as a franchise it was dead, so I'm happy to see it back.
Oh, you were saying it's like 10 years, since
maybe even longer since Devil May Cry 4. It was a long time ago.
Look.
It feels like it was an early 360 game.
So there seems to be loads.
The first one was PS2.
Yeah, well, the first one was like basically a launch title for the PS2, or very close to it.
Yeah.
There seems to be loads of new characters. There's like 2 new female characters. There's an actual new playable character, which is the V character, which looks really cool. He's physically weaker than like Dante or
Virgil.
Nero. But his like abilities are stronger because he can conjure these animals that are
interesting. Just a little bit of news for you. On June 12th, 2015, the Chinese Ministry of Culture listed Devil May Cry among 38 anime and manga titles banned in China.
Probably because it has skeletons.
I just throw that in there.
You can't have skeletons in China.
How can you not?
Nope.
But it
implies a life after death.
Last one was
the final
2013.
trailer did reveal that Virgil is in the game, and I was like, oh yeah, that's.
Is it time to go and replay Devil May Cry 4 just before it comes out?
So I thought it was.
I've got the HD collection, which is not the best.
I was about to say. So I was the list of games. 2001 is Devil May Cry. 2003 was 2. 2005 was Devil May Cry 3. 2008 Devil May Cry 4.
It was DMC in 2013.
So
that was DMC was 2000 was.
We don't talk about
2013. So Devil May Cry 4 really being the last game was 2008. And then the HD collection was 2012.
Yeah, I mean, I own the HD collection. It's a really, really lazy port.
It really is. It's
super lazy.
It's painful to.
It's a real shame because I've seen like the way they dusted up. Cause I've seen some PS2 games where they've dusted up nicely, like Final Fantasy X got a really nice, and Final Fantasy 12 got a really nice sort of, it's like a tarting up basically to make it a bit more. But Devil May Cry, they basically just up-resed and stuck it on there. You look at the textures and it's like, fucking hell.
So yeah, Devil May Cry on Friday of this week.
Yeah.
I mean, you were saying you're going to have to wait for it.
Yeah.
I've
got too many games that I'm in.
I am toying with the idea, and this will sound weird, but I'm actually toying with the idea of trading Anthem in to get Devil May Cry, because Game are doing this thing where they're like, if you trade it in by this day, you're guaranteed an amount of money, and I'm wondering whether to do that because I'm in a similar position. It's like, we've had a run of games where I'm like, I can't afford all these games.
I've not bought a game in a while, so I might pick this one up. One of the few games that I do pick up.
Well, if you pick it up, then you'll be on the next podcast. It'll become Sam Plays.
It's very, very rare that a game comes out these days that actually excites me.
Sam Plays.
But a full-on classy spectacle fighter is right up my alley. So
well, it does look cool. Just that, I just want to get on that demon motorbike.
The demon motorbike.
It looks hella stupid.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And Nero's got loads of different mechanical arm things.
Yeah.
Which I'm undecided how I feel about that, because obviously they're going to have to explain how he's lost the arm.
I'm sure they'll come up with a plan. I mean, Devil Motorbike, and you're worried about a fucking arm piece.
But his other arm thing was cool.
Maybe this will be cooler.
They do say it is kind of cool. You change all your arms for different purposes and stuff.
Yeah, see?
It's cool.
I'm just surprised it got made in the first place. So I feel like I have to at least somewhat support games.
What the fuck is Capcom doing with the time these days, though?
Apparently knocking it out the fucking park all the time.
They've still been. They've not recently released a Marvel.
Again?
They've redone Marvel.
No, because
Capcom.
Capcom. It's been like re-released on.
Capcom. Remember, Capcom's last 3 were Monster Hunter World, Resident Evil 2, and they're going to have Devil May Cry 5, and those are all.
Yeah.
I don't know about Devil May Cry 5. It might be terrible, but those last 2. Oh, Mega Man 11 was also really, really good.
It's got a recipe for greatness.
Capcom seemed to be knocking it out of the park. They seemed to have like a period in the doldrums where they weren't quite sure what they were doing, but the last couple of years they've really been knocking it out of the park, I'd say.
Yeah.
Good old Capcom might even be back, because I was like, oh no, good old Capcom. Resi 7. Resi 7 was very well regarded.
Yeah, that was well received.
Yeah. That'd be our option.
That's
good in VR.
So yeah, it felt like for a while it's like if good old Capcom goes, we'll have no one left. And then
then they're back.
And then they seem to be doing pretty
With
well.
vengeance.
Because Konami are dead. Konami are straight up in the ground.
Oh, what was it? Silent Hill. That's what they're famous for. Well,
definitely Metal Gear Solid.
Oh yeah, of course. I forget about it. Wasn't there a Metal Gear game?
It was Metal Gear Survive that came out, and it was.
Oh, now you want to talk about a game that had terrible reviews. Yeah. I got quite excited for that. But when they first announced it, I was like, "Oh, that sounds really interesting." And then the more that was released about it, the more information. I'm like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?"
Square don't seem to know what they're doing these days.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, because Final Fantasy, I've already mentioned how much I hated Final Fantasy 15. The release, Nier Automata somehow got released. I assume that Square weren't looking.
Final Fantasy 15, I bought it and was like, oh, the premise of this is kind of cool, even though it was, a boy band go on a road trip.
The big gay road trip was quite appealing.
Assassin's Creed download to it, hasn't it? And Assassin's
Creed, it was weird.
Because in Origins, you could get the sword.
That game just went way off the rails because it started out like really well, and then it was drive from here to here, get attacked by the same monster that is nigh on unbeatable, spend 45 minutes killing that monster, get back in the car, drive 18 inches, get attacked by the same monster again, get out and spend 45 minutes, and I'm like, the fucking hell is this game?
The thing that bothered me was I always bitch about the horses in The Witcher 3, but at least I was somewhat involved in the driving of that horse. In Final Fantasy 15, I can genuinely put the controller down and go and make a coffee for the 5 minutes it takes to go there.
I used to have another game to play whilst I was waiting.
And
I play a game on my phone whilst waiting for
I put 15 hours into Final Fantasy 15, and I think I've played every Final Fantasy game pretty much. So I was really willing to give it the benefit of the doubt and really willing to try to like it, and I just hated its guts.
How many of those 15 hours were spent driving?
Most of it was spent bored.
It's just a bonkers game. And it had such promise as well.
It feels like about 12 different games mashed together as well.
Assassin's Creed Origins had that random Final Fantasy tie-in.
Yeah,
where you could get the shield and the sword from Final Fantasy. I was like, what is this doing here?
It was weird. It was super weird.
It was super bizarre. A funny little crossover, but very odd.
Yeah.
I keep meaning to pick up Dragon Quest 11. That's the Square release that. I believe that's going out on the Switch in the not too distant future.
Switch is just weird. Like, did you see the thing about Game Pass?
Yeah, Microsoft are putting Game Pass on the
Game
Pass.
I told you about that.
It's going on the Switch.
Yeah, well, it's live. Gold is going on to.
But no, Game Pass is going on.
Yeah.
So you get Gold, you get your Xbox Live.
Yeah.
Then you get Game Pass, so you can play your Xbox games on your
the Switch. Yeah.
Isn't that super neat?
I think it's cool. Yeah, I think it's really cool. Makes me want to buy a Switch.
It's like,
I mean, I'm already cracking on the Switch issue. I think we've hit critical mass.
Yeah.
Well, there's two games
when they
out that are
announced
probably going to push you over.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how good Demon X Machina is. I've heard the demo was a bit underwhelming.
It was fine. It was just too hard. I couldn't beat the boss.
And Platinum are obviously Platinum are releasing a game, and that's largely all I need. But they're releasing a game, a cyberpunk mecha anime fighting game. So I was like, well, I'm not sure I can get any more erect now. The table's
falling over.
Yeah, table's falling over.
Like,
so
that's it, job done.
But Nintendo and Platinum, they always just seem to do so well together, because Platinum want to make something a little bit fruity, and Nintendo are like, knock yourself out.
Go for it. Go nuts.
Here's some money, knock yourself out, make something fruity.
Yeah. No, I think the Microsoft thing's kind of cool. It'll do. I think it'll do well for Nintendo sales anyway.
I don't think Nintendo need the help, to be honest. The Switch seems to be
flying.
flying.
I can't say how it will help Microsoft particularly, but because Game Pass is
baffling.
Is just like it's often £1 a month.
I do wonder whether like Microsoft are kind of like edging the way out of the console business and maybe trying to institute themselves as a service. Because obviously they've got the window. They've essentially like the Windows Store and the Xbox One are now basically completely blurred.
Yeah.
Anything that's available on the Xbox One is available on Windows.
Yeah, and that's been a while. It's been like that.
Basically, the only thing that isn't is Halo.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Which is on the Game Pass.
In theory, we'll find out by the end of this year.
But Microsoft are all about like the cross-play stuff as well.
Yeah, they love the crossplay. I think it's more because Sony hate it.
Cool.
Sony are like, not happening. Never going to do it.
If it's one thing we've learned though, is that the balance of power can shift quite quickly from console generation to console generation.
That's very true. Yeah, that's true.
Because I thought
Very
Nintendo
much so.
might be really struggling, but they seem to have knocked it out with these. Because when you think like last generation, you had the Wii U and the 3DS, neither of which was super.
3DS
I didn't think the Switch was going to do
the 3DS sold very well. The Wii U really didn't.
I didn't think the Switch was going to do well. I thought originally, I was like, who is this made for? What is this market? And is it just going to be another Wii? And the controller looks a little bit similar and all this. And I was like, I imagine it won't do that well. And then we got one, and it's like, Liam played her games on it, and I sort of looked at it from a distance and was like, eh. And yeah, some absolute.
Well, Ben got it really early on, didn't he? Because he was on the train a lot, and he was like, "It's fucking brilliant."
It's, but I mean, I think it's more that it has like a very easy selling point. The thing is, you look at the Wii U, and it's like, what the even is this? It's like, so I've got a big fat screen controller, but I can't. It's not portable. Like if I take it outside the room, it loses connection. So what the fuck even is this? It's like, oh well, you can look at the little screen and the big screen. It's like, why?
Why would I do that?
And the 3DS, it's like, remember the DS? It's like, yeah, the DS was cool. It's like, it's got 3D. It's like, but is it going to sear my retinas out of my skull? It's like, it is.
Yeah,
Sorry.
That's the thing.
It's like, but that 3D side is staying right down then. So
it is exactly what's happened.
But the 3DS sold okay.
Yeah.
Like it had a very long lifespan. It's had some great games in there, but in general, it's nowhere near had the market penetration that DS did.
Yeah,
the Switch.
DS did really.
I see the Switch like just seems to be pretty much just juggernauting forwards.
Yeah.
So I think I'll pick one up at some point. It's got a Pokemans on it now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's got a Pogue.
And there's a new Pokemans out.
There might even be a tie-in game to do with the Pokemon detective. Who knows?
Well, I've got the Detective Pikachu on 3DS.
All right.
It was originally a video
Maybe
game.
they'll rehash a new tie-in. On that note,
join us next time when we talk about movies we don't want.
Can we just talk about Pokemans for like an hour and a half?
as long as I'm not in that.
Apparently, that's a thing. We'll get you, Ed, and Paul, and you can talk about
Our favourite Pogues.
Paul's got a cool Pokemon on his
yeah
tablet that he's like.
yeah.
That's absolutely legit.
He's done something to it, so it comes from something else and it plays on his.
It's a GBA emulator.
So that's quite entertaining.
all perfectly legitimate.
As legitimate as my movie collection.
Just like Sam's movie collection. Amazon
that's
bring
out
them
there.
the same minute. Great.
I think.
There we go.
Yeah, we're done.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
James plays in the bag.
Yeah.
Plays in the bag.
Like
Sometimes
a
I
weasel.
play in a bag. It depends.
Like a weasel.
My friend had a ferret. He used to put it in a bag and he used to roll down a hill. It was hilarious.
What, the weasel?
But then no, it was a ferret. But he used to. But then he would get to the bottom of the hill and he put the ferret, and the ferret would jump straight back in the bag. 'Cause it obviously loved that shit.
Wow.
Smelly animals though.
There we go.
It's still recorded. Talking about ferrets.
it is, yeah.
Honestly, I've been, like I said, I've been trying to do new things, and one of them is ending on just the most
Are we
random.
just holding it down?
You just press it twice. Once to bring the screen on, once to stop it.
There we go.
So yeah, Sam talks about ferrets in the next episode.
So there we go. What do you think to that? Another episode of James Plays in the Bag. Special guest of Sam, talking about all things game related. For you guys who are watching on YouTube, turn yourself into YouTube subscribers if you're not already. Drop us a little comment. Tell us what you're playing at the moment. Tell us what games you're looking forward to in the future. Everybody should jump over to the Cookiecast.com, check out our website, check out our social media feeds, look at the function to send us an email, send us a little email, tell us what you're up to, and maybe we'll give you a little shout out on the next episode. So there we go, James Plays, and another one done. I'm going to catch you next time, so I'm going to say goodbye. Bye.